then was sort of getting up to about 2014, 2015. And at that time, I was at my heaviest. I'd peaked at 137 kilos, which is 302 pounds. And by this time, I was starting to pick up a few other symptoms as well. So I was having...
Well, that's astonishing, because I'm looking at you now and you're just a sort of middle-sized, average guy off the street.
The size I am now, what I weigh now, I'm mid-80s. This is about what I weighed when I was in my early teens. I haven't been this small since I was about 13. But yeah, I was a long way from being where I am now, back in 2015. And I was having all these other issues with the breathing. I was developing this chronic sort of chest pain, and every now and then that might sort of pick up a little bit. Certainly when I was exercising, would hurt a little bit more. But I just sort of felt, there's something not quite right there, and maybe I should go see someone. And so I saw someone, and they said you started to pay a visit to the ED. So I went there, and they run some tests, and they can't really find anything. My BP's pretty much normal. My cholesterol is only marginally elevated. My blood sugar is only mildly elevated. Aside from the fact that I was visibly very, very fat, there apparently wasn't really anything all that much wrong with me, except that I felt this pain. So, okay, well, here, have some ibuprofen and go home and rest for a while. And the ibuprofen was great. It was worked wonders for the pain. I thought, okay, well, that's awesome. That'll set me right. And then I ran out of ibuprofen, and the pain comes back. And I'm thinking at this point, well, okay, so maybe the ibuprofen is not necessarily addressing the cause of the issue. It's really just dealing with the symptoms. It's dealing with the pain. But if there's something else going on that's always going to cause me pain, I don't want to be living on ibuprofen my whole life. And as I'm sort of thinking at this point, I'm in my mid-30s here, is this how it all starts, where people sort of start to become dependent on living on meds for the rest of their life? And that was kind of scary in its own right. So I'm going back to doctors, back and forth, and being referred to various people around the place. What can they do? But the big revelation came one day when I realized, when I started walking to work again, this is sort of as a last resort, I have to do something with myself. I'm thinking this is crazy. So I started walking to work again. This would be about Easter 2015. And over the course of the following 6 months, I lost another 5 kilos. And I'm thinking, okay, well, this is sort of like the sugar episode of years past. It's nice, but I need to be able to explore this further. And maybe this is my solution. Rather than diet my way out of this, I can just exercise my way out of this. So I'm like, all right, deep breath. Let's go make an appointment at a gym. And this was something that I'd sworn I would never do for so long. Anybody who knows me will be thinking, wow, this is a pretty big deal. And I never wanted to tell anybody. This was such a massive, massive secret. I didn't want anybody to know that I was going to do this. So I went in and I made the appointment with the gym, met the manager guy there, sat down, and I sort of told my story. I've been overweight my whole life. I've been trying to follow the food pyramid. Nothing seems to be working. I've got chest pains. But I have been walking, and that's been helping a little bit, so I figure I just need a membership, am I right? I'm thinking, I'm the easiest sell ever. I'm selling myself. He doesn't need to sell me anything. And the answer he gave me was the last thing I expected. He said, mate, there's nothing I can do for you. I could sign you up, and you might lose, say, 10 kilos or so, if you come here regularly as part of the subscription, but you're not going to sustain it. We need to look at something that you can do for yourself and maintain for yourself. I think we need to look at what you're eating. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Someone else is just going to tell me to eat less, move more. Yeah. And then he brings up this website on his computer, and it was called The Real Meal Revolution. And he says, look at this, you can eat bacon and eggs and lose weight. And I'm thinking, as I'm looking at this website, this kind of reads like Atkins. And I'm sort of thinking back to when it was big in the news in the early 2000s. Wasn't that discredited years ago? All the experts saying that doesn't work. That doesn't work. It's crazy. Why are you telling me this? And he made a very good point that I couldn't refute. He said, mate, I've been in this business for 20 years. I wouldn't be in this position if I wasn't capable of giving people advice that worked for them. And this is what I think will work for you. And And I'm like, well, yeah, but if you're right, then that means everybody else is wrong. and I didn't know what to do. And finally he says, all right, I'll tell you what, normally there's a charge for your appointment. You know what I've told you today. You can have that at no charge. And I'm telling you, you should go away and try it. And if it doesn't work, then that's fine. No harm done. If it does work, come back and pay me back later. And I'm thinking, oh, well, okay, at least this isn't going to cost me any money anymore, you know.
That's some pretty ethical behaviour.
Yeah. It was the most amazing person, and I had no idea at the time that this guy would totally change the direction of my entire life. At the time, though, I was furious. I was confused. I was upset. I was just like, I couldn't reconcile this, but this guy was so sure, even though it went so completely against everything else that had been told to me my whole life. And finally, after a few days of sulking and moping about it, I thought, well, the only way I'm going to prove this guy wrong is to try it.